Okay, I'd like to talk about collars a little bit. Most people like to use these flat collars. This is a nylon one. I'm not a big fan of flat collars for a couple of reasons. Number one, they tend to be kind of stretchy. You almost can't get them tight enough to where your dog can't slip out of the collar. The bigger problem I have with flat collars, though, is that they're wide. When you give a correction with the flat collar, it distributes the force over a broad area, so dogs just aren't very responsive on them. I much prefer rolled leather collars. This is what Kaya is wearing right here, because they're very thin and they don't stretch at all. So you got to pull less hard and less often to get the same effect. Dogs are much more responsive on these collars. So if you have a dog that'll just choke herself to death on this type of collar, she'll be a lot less likely to do that on this type of collar. There's a couple ways to look at this. So if your dog pulls on a rolled leather collar, it's going to be a lot more unpleasant to her. The truth of the matter is she's going to be a lot less likely to pull because it's more unpleasant to her. The step up from a rolled leather collar under that same concept is a pinch collar. This is a pinch collar. They look pretty mean. They're not when they're used properly and fitted properly. So I use these very differently than most dog trainers do. Most dog trainers use them punitively. They put them on the dog, and if the dog is dog aggressive, once the dog starts getting worked up, they pop the collar and make the dog yelp. I don't use them that way. I use them to keep the dog from getting out of control in the first place, because dogs are much more responsive on these. The reason that this is so effective is this is how dogs control one another. They grab each other by the neck, and that's what this replicates here. A properly fitted pinch collar, when used properly, and most people don't fit them properly or use them properly, it doesn't slide up and down the neck, okay? This is a choke chain. These are bad news. The problem with these is they injure dogs. So choke chains, you slide them over the dog's head, they slide up and down the neck, and when they get down here by the shoulders, they're not very effective, and you got to tort the vertebra of the neck to get the dog's attention. That's why they injure dogs. A properly fitted pinch collar, you don't slide over the dog's head. You take it apart, you take out the links you don't need, and you put it right around the neck, and it stays right behind the ears at the jawline. It's a constant reminder your dog can't get away with pulling. This is the most humane way to walk a dog that pulls so hard that it's a safety issue. I'm worried the dog's going to damage her throat, or yank your arm out of the socket every time she sees a squirrel, or face plant you into the concrete. I recommend using a pinch collar. It's a safety issue. She could get away from you and get run over by a car. I always use a backup strap with a pinch collar. Every now and then, the links get twisted up and a pinch collar will just pop off. It doesn't happen often, but it happens. And the last thing you want is when your dog is chasing a squirrel is to have her get off the leash and get run over by a car. So the backup strap I use, this is the one I like. I slip it under the leather collar. I put this through a loop, and I attach this ring to the same ring of the pinch collar, so that if for some reason the pinch collar comes off, I'm still connected to the leather collar through the strap. And this doesn't interfere with the operation of the pinch collar. I always start off with 2 rings on the pinch collar. 2 rings doesn't tighten up when you pull on it, it just stays there. 1 cinches up when you pull on it. So some dogs need 1 ring, but I always start off with 2. That's collars.